Hello, George. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for speaking. And I'm sorry I'm late. It was my confusion.
It's okay. How do you feel about promoting a film this way, like online, like from your own home? I mean, how do you feel?
It's very modern. I guess it's just a necessity of the times, I think, and I guess we're lucky that we're able to do it this way. But obviously, it's a shame not to be there. It's a real honour to have the film at the festival, and it would be lovely to be there with everyone. And I miss being in a cinema, you know, anywhere, but to be in Barcelona as well would be very special. So, but I'm glad we can do it this way.
How's your image about this character when you were offered the role? I mean, what did you know about the Kelly gang beforehand?
To be honest, I didn't know very much. I guess sort of almost the point of Peter's book is I, like many people, knew his name and knew the image of his helmet. Like he was almost a symbol or a brand, Ned Kelly. But I did had no understanding of the man inside of that. My dad's from Australia, so I felt like I knew just a tiny bit more just through that connection. But to be honest, my understanding of him opened up when I read Peter Carey's book that it's based on, which again is a fictional history of the man, but it is a very well researched fictional history, and his Irish culture was something that shocked me and informed me about the colonial makeup of modern Australia. And then, but then in terms of the character and also the character which is in the film, I had no sort of imagination of who or what that man could be until I met Justin for the audition. And my interpretation of the character was a lot more down the line, sort of romantic, leading man, Irish folky hero. And Justin was like, no. And he turned it inwards and it made it a lot more personal, a lot more psychological, a lot more violent and nuanced. So it was Justin that really kind of that opened up the character that ended up in the film.
So that's the way you try to portray the character. I mean, we know this is a fictional approach to Kelly, but did you try to unveil this kind of unknown side of the character?
I think I guess sort of it's tricky because who knows if he was like that at all. Um,
Mm,
I think in making something very different to what is the established understanding of the man, you offer up that he could have been anything, and that I guess is the point of the film. It's not to say
yeah.
that you thought he was this, he was actually this. It's just saying that he could have been this, so he could have been anything else. So why do you assume that he was what you assume
Yeah.
he was?
How would you describe your collaboration with Justin? I mean, what kind of director would you say he is on the set?
Justin's amazing. I'm truly a fan of Justin. Like his first film, Snowtown, is the most affected I've ever been in a cinema. And since seeing that film, I've wanted to work with him, and I've had the opportunity of auditioning for him once before, and I remember in that audition he really put me through my paces, and so he's a leader. He's a very hard taskmaster as well, and but he offers you the opportunity to go in. Like it's always an offering. He doesn't dictate what he wants, but he just offers you to commit to something, and he makes it okay to commit. And I think he respects creativity and the process and work ethic so much that it makes you respect it too. Like I remember him, he talks about actors, like De Niro in the 70s, and that sort of, going role after role of just going like digging into themselves and making these pieces of art. He respects that so much that it makes you respect it more and kind of go, oh, it's all right to make this my everything, and perhaps it's even better if I make this my everything. So I guess our collaboration, I feel very honoured to have. But I think also it came at a particular time where both of us wanted to do something that committed. I think he said, even just in the Q&A after the screening at the festival the other night, he said, which I hadn't realised, that he was very frustrated creatively before he made this film, and frustrated at himself. And that kind of passion and anger and need to be purely creative bled into the project. And I myself was at a point where I wanted more than anything to have an experience that would sort of take me away and that I could dive into. So I think, and was at a point in my life where I was do that. So I think we met at the right time.
Would you say that you somehow feel restrained too, like in the same position as Justin's, or maybe you are in a different wave now?
Restrained? How do you mean?
Artistically restrained. I mean, you said that you were eager to do something like this as well. So
no, I think it was more. I think it was more personally, to be honest. I think it was, but like similarly to Ned, I think the character of Ned, or at least what I identified with, is he's a young man who is looking at his past. He's looking to define himself, basically, in himself. And I think when you do that, you look at where you're from, and you look at the things that you want to leave behind, and you look at the things with which you want to, you respect and you want to take on with you. And you look at your father for that. You look at your context, how you were built. And you sort of take in consideration what you need and what you need to let go of in order to move forward. And I think that in a more extreme version is what Ned is doing. His commitment. Do I become what people say I am, or do I try and be do I try and be something completely different? And if I'm not able to be something completely different, well then how do I become my version of what everyone says I am? Yeah. And it's kind of, I think I felt like that personally, in terms of just even, wanting to, being in between, leaving my family and hopefully one day making my own family. You sort of go, well, what do I do when it's just me in the middle? And I even artistically go, and I want to be an actor, but I want to be a really good actor. And I want to have an opportunity where someone tells me to give it my all, give it my absolute all. And that's sort of where it felt particularly pertinent.
Mm-hmm. You've had a pretty amazing year with this film and with 1917. Now the lights seem to be shining on you. You've had you're very young, but you've had a pretty intense career so far. Do you think that this kind of attention you're earning now from the big studios and directors and so on, that earns you somehow freedom to choose your roles, to choose your path?
I've been blessed with more opportunity of choice at this moment, and I guess with an element of choice comes similarly an element of responsibility, to myself and to who you feel responsible for, as a citizen in the projects that you choose and the stories that feel right for me and for what's going on in the world at the moment. So it does give an element of greater choice, and with that freedom also comes a responsibility to be responsible in those choices.
Mm-hmm. How would you describe your last year? I mean, did you see that coming?
No. It's last year is it's funny because it's been amazing, and there's been many things about it which were very new and intense, but also I guess one of the newnesses in terms of, very briefly, perhaps people's perception of you changes, but I guess what you have to, or what I've sort of figure out, is that doesn't change you in the middle of it. The way that someone might see you, or whether they see you or not, in terms of work, doesn't actually change anything about yourself. And so in a way, nothing has changed other than perhaps being a bit busier in terms of work. But because otherwise you can get lost in someone else's interpretation of you. So I'm just trying to be mindful. I've been very lucky with just sort of personally navigating that. There's been lots of lovely sort of personal things to keep tabs on, as well as the work, and and that's what's real at the end of the day. I guess your work, when you're offered an element of choice, might be an extension of your understanding of what's going on in your own life.
So speaking about choices and responsibility, and how do you choose your roles? How do you choose a script? Is it the director? You talked about Justin, an interesting director for you, or is it the role, or is it the genre maybe that you want to work in? I don't know, how does the process work?
I think it shifts over time as to what I or you or anyone wants, the person making the choice, what they want to figure out. And I think that's relevant or pertinent to whatever is going on with that person at the time. But I think broadly, there's a sort of big and small in terms of, my role within the making of a story, like anyone on the crew and cast, is just to be, a cog in that greater machine. And so I think you have to choose stories that you feel you want to be a part of, or that you want to be a part of because of what they explore, either what they say or what they question. So there's the bigger question, and then there's the smaller question, is just also what is going to excite me or bring me learning, and that usually comes from the director. And I think that comes from a process of work, because I think there's many words that can be said with characters, but it's the way that you're being asked to discover them that is particularly interesting to me.
Okay, thank you very much, George. Thank you
so much. Nice to speak to you.
Pleasure.